Hey, G's back on the E3 show floor here in the private interview room of Square Enix's Tomb Raider upcoming. I'm here with Brian Horton, Senior Art Director on the game. Brian, thank you very much for spending some time with us here.
Hey, thanks for coming out.
Now, one of the main themes of this new Tomb Raider is a grittier, darker Laura and a darker adventure, starting off in a much more innocent place and sort of putting her through the ringer in terms of strengthening her and empowering her. How is that coming across in the art direction and the art design of the game? How is that reflecting this kind of motif?
So our goals for Lara were to reimagine her and the franchise. She's younger, she's 21 years old, she's on her first expedition, and she has this enthusiasm and optimism about life. So when this terrible tragedy happens and that she goes over the ship, the Endurance, when it's taken by a storm, she's confronted with a terrible situation, and it's a struggle to survive for her. But she perseveres with her inner strength, and I think those are the things that we are trying to get with Lara, is that she's a relatable, human, and grounded version, and someone that I think the fans recognize, but yet they see something new in her.
Now, one of the new components, again, to this Tomb Raider is the survival instinct mode, in which you flash into a sort of monochromatic scale in which things in the environment are highlighted. And in terms of designing environments and crafting the art style, how did you approach this survival instinct, especially if the player would be using it heavily?
So one of the things we did with Survival Instinct is this is Lara's inherent ability. She can just look at a world and sort of assess it and see what's important. We don't tell the player how to use these elements, but we do know that they are going to be important to them and they can interact with them. The way we solved the fact, because the mode does change the look of the world, is it's temporary. So when you hit the button, a pulse goes out, illuminates the objects, and as soon as you start to move, they start to fade away.
Again, another motif of this new Tomb Raider is a much deeper dynamic and fluidity to the action, to the animations, and in particular, compared to the older Tomb Raiders, the camera. And that would require a much more visceral, a much more fully realized art world. And have you come from a project with a more as a camera like this or something similar?
So we're trying to tell the most cinematic in-game experience we can. And I've made games before with a lot of third-person action adventure games, but never to this degree of crafted cinematography. So we hired an amazing game cinematographer, Remy Lacoste, and he has brought this tremendous energy to the team and this passion for filmmaking and a passion for games. And I think that's what's coming through in the game right now, is you can see that blend between cinematography and functional gameplay cameras.
A lot of the non-gunplay and non-more dramatic gameplay is realized through QuickTime events, and the problem with these kind of animations, and in particular this kind of art, is that it has to be fluid but also has to function with this kind of stop-go QuickTime event. I was wondering, we've talked to a lot of art directors. None of them have been able to give us a kind of sure answer on how you work with QuickTime events, especially at such a heavy level.
Yeah, so QuickTime events for us are a way to have Lara experience something that isn't part of our systemic gameplay. It allows us to change the camera perspective, really get an idea, see her face, see her expressions. We try to do them in limited capacity and with controls that are more analog. So, like if she's in a moment when swinging in the sack, she can use the analog stick left and right. It's very intuitive. When she's pulling out the spike, you see the UI actually starts to pull out as well as you're mashing the button. We want to try to make these things limited, but also they're impactful spikes in the gameplay experience, and helps tell the story. In the demos that we've shown at E3, there tends to be quite a bit of them, but throughout the entirety of the game, they're going to be paced out much less liberally.
All right, fantastic. Then when could people expect to get the new Tomb Raider experience, and what platforms will it be out on?
So Tomb Raider is coming out fall of 2012 on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC.
All right, well, Brian Horton, thank you very much for your time with us today. And for all the rest of Elder Geek's E3 coverage, head on over to elder-geek.com.